3, 2, let's call it uno. People of the world, hello and welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language. I hope you have your tea with you. It is delicious and it is nutritious. Did you know that for many years I have been a musician and I love fellow musicians? I always feel like there is a commonality. There is something about artists and there's something about performers that lends to being good teachers. I had the pleasure of chatting with Mr. Glenn Daniels backstage before the show began, and it is not a coincidence to me that he is a musician. He has many, many years of experience as a teacher, as a coach. We're going to learn a lot from his wisdom today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Glenn Daniels.
Hey, good morning all, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. That's just great. It's actually a huge pleasure to be here. I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I think we do connect because musicians learn how to speak on a vibrational level.
Ooh.
So I think that's a big connection area for us.
Okay, I'm loving that vibrational level. So you have you probably know from previous episodes, what we're looking for is your life story. We want to start from all the way back. We're happy to have multiple episodes. You know, we want the whole shebang. So why don't we go all the way back, Mr. Daniels, to where you were born, and we'll start the life story.
Okay, well, all the way back, so everybody called me Glenn. No one ever called me Mr. Daniels. You were required to say Glenn. Just go with Glenn.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I do have a title that I don't use, but I'll share maybe share that with you later.
Okay.
But all the way back, born and raised here in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, and it's just a great place to live. I moved out, and moved back, moved out, moved back. So I'm here now until it's time to move out permanently, move out from the world. The thing is, I think starting around the age, this is my cousin's something, starting around the age 3, 4, or 5 is when I first started to kind of evolve as a speaker. So I always loved telling stories. I remember that growing up, that's what I loved to do, was telling stories. So I could tell some good stories, and then about 7 years of age, I started playing the piano. And just loved it. That was my alone time, a time that I could be by myself and just enjoy it. You know, I didn't have a problem practicing. I just enjoyed it. Which kind of put me into an introverted state, but I like performing.
So let's pause right there. So one of the things that I found interesting about our conversation earlier is typically there is some sort of big hurdle that folks will go through, which will bring them into the path of being a speaker. And it seems as though you have a natural talent starting at a very young age, 3, 4 years old, where you just wanted to share. You wanted to tell stories. So what is it about it? Is it an adrenaline rush? Do you like adrenaline? Or do you ever find yourself, are you a skydiver? Are you into these sorts of things?
I've done skydiving.
I knew it.
Just to do it. I actually did the Firewalk and then learned how to teach the Firewalk. So I led Firewalk classes.
What?
So it's just some things that are just, not the reason why I stopped teaching Firewalk classes is because motivation is good as far as it goes. I mean, you can be motivated. I can get you pumped up for 6 months, but then what happens after that?
Right.
So that's the biggest reason why I stopped doing that. Yeah, it was a great draw, but it didn't help people really make a difference. It just was something that, I never really had any challenges in life. Everything was going well for me. I learned a lot of different things. And I watched my dad grow up from the lowest position in the post office to becoming one of the first postmasters of color in the United States.
What?
So I watched that happen. I just saw that, but I also saw the negative side of things. Like, they're from Texas,
right?
So if we went down, we'd go down there every summer. But during the time period when I was really young, this takes us back, ages me right now.
Yeah.
But we used to have to drive nonstop from Denver down to an hour past Dallas. Only place you could stop is get gas.
Right.
You had to stop on the roadside to eat your lunch. You had to bring your own lunch with you because people of color weren't allowed to use restaurants and stay in hotels. So that was something,
that was in your lifetime?
That was in my lifetime, yeah.
That is insane.
And it got where they passed laws that you can't do that, but you still weren't welcome there.
Right.
So there's only one restaurant I remember It was called the Bonanza Restaurant. It was in Wichita Falls, and we would leave out of our grandmother's home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it would take us 5 hours to get to Wichita Falls. These folks, they loved us.
Right.
Every year, they remembered my dad and my mother, and we could sit down and have pancakes. We'd be the only people of color in the room, but they didn't care. They loved us.
Right.
So every year, oh, hey, you guys are back. And then we'd get our pancakes from there. In the mornings, we're going back. So you always found kindness in people.
Right.
You have to start balancing these things out. There's, some people are super kind.
Yeah.
Denver above the Mason-Dixon line, you'd think would be super kind. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Right.
So there was, answer to your question, no real big trauma ever came up to me. No, up until recently. I've gotten sick here since last July.
Okay.
But I didn't really have a trauma until then.
Okay, so you are unique in that regard. I think every single interview I've had up until this point, there is that sort of, or that you're just really well adjusted. Maybe there is something that will uncover, but I mean, I'll take you at your word that you had, So here's what I find fascinating about that is that you seem to have a natural inclination towards moments that I think other people tend to be pushed away from. So you've done public speaking, correct?
Yeah.
Are you a performer with musician? Because you mentioned I think it was Bach on the piano. Did you ever do concerts?
Not since college. I haven't done anything in the public since. Well, I'll take that back. I did one time integrate Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata into a talk I was doing.
Oh, see that.
They had a piano on stage, and I just decided let's just use it. So I sat down and played it for people just to tie it into the story I was telling.
Okay, so would you say that you are just naturally a storyteller?
Yeah, I would say naturally a storyteller, naturally like to make the difference to perform.
Okay, just a performer. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. So when you're about to go on stage, do you feel excitement?
Yeah, I have to find ways to calm myself down because get on stage and I'll just go.
Okay.
Because people are not ready to go with me at that point.
All right.
So I will just go. So I have a routine, a little bit of yoga, some great music to kind of center myself.
Okay.
Because this is a chance where I think you get to make a difference. I do get really kind of excited about it, and I start looking around the room and saying who's in there, and being where I shouldn't be. When I should be back in the green room, I'm out talking to people. So I'm just excited about stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I love that. One of my favorite things about public speaking is making connections with people in the audience before I go on stage, and then taking those stories with me on stage. There's something magical about that where you go up and I'm reminded of a speech I gave in Minnesota where I was chatting with some gentlemen, and one of them was convinced he could tell you his own blood pressure.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I can tell you my
Those are great stories, aren't they? Really? Okay.
But he can't tell you your blood pressure. That's where he draws the line.
But he can tell you how much you weighed, right?
Yeah, all right. I'll tell you how much I weigh. But just, so that's how I opened my speech. And everyone they loved it, because you're talking about one of their own. Okay. So did you grow up in Texas? Because you said you did Denver, you bounced back, you went forward.
No, but we would go down and spend our summers in Texas. That's where my dad was from, Waco, Texas.
Okay.
My mother's from a small town outside of Dallas called Milford, Texas. So we go down and spend summers there, 3-4 weeks down there, every summer.
Summers in Texas.
Yeah. Stayed here in Denver until I decided I wanted to go to Los Angeles and give that a try for a while.
Okay.
Didn't like it. Moved to Phoenix.
Yeah, okay. A lot of folks have issues with LA. You're not the only one. Okay. So natural performer, 3-4 years old. You had mentioned another story when you got a little bit older. I'm trying to remember. So you're in Denver, basically. You start school. Your father is in the post office, working up the ranks.
Yeah.
Father, mother in the home?
Yes.
Okay. So 2-family household. That's good. Valued education, I imagine?
Oh, yeah. That's something that they highly were sought after, highly reached for. Even now, of my siblings, I'm the only one who's still in school at my 60 plus years of age, trying to learn more.
Interesting. What are you studying?
I think I got that from them. Well, this semester I'm doing behavioral economics, so just trying to figure that out.
Okay, what
Just
is behavioral economics?
well, it's really a study of saying how come we spend money the way we spend money, and so it helps with the marketing kind of aspect of what I'm trying to do. It helps with the human behavior. Okay, we spend money based upon this. Why is the stock market doing so well while we're still having this people falling out and not having enough money to survive? Why are the rich getting richer? Why are the poor getting poorer? What in our society is taking place is creating that? And can it be predicted? And of course, it can be charted and traveled. Just getting started, so we got a long ways to go in the semester, but the semester's 2 weeks old now, 3 weeks old.
That is fascinating. I have not heard those two words combined, behavioral economics. I mean, you could argue that all economics is behavioral economics because all money is tied to human behavior.
Yes, yeah.
But
And
it,
that's exactly what the professor says too. So,
okay, all right, good. So I'm on kind of on the right path there. Well, I love that. I've definitely considered getting my doctorate at times. I've literally gotten to the point where I'm looking at pricing and all of that. So
yeah,
I'm a lifelong learner too.
it serves you. I mean, it just serves you. So yeah, that's they really wanted that educational piece in there. Thinking the life would be a whole lot easier. I don't think they were aware of how much things change or how much things would change from the time when they were children to the time that they have grandchildren.
Oh, are you who are you referring to right now?
My parents, I'm sorry, my parents.
Oh,
I
your
don't believe,
pain.
yeah, I don't think they really realized the difference. I mean, I remember one time the statement was, we'll never have a black president.
Right.
Well, during their lifetime, that was not even remotely possible.
Yep.
Their time growing up, their formative years.
I think there's a Tupac lyric where he says, even though it seems heaven sent, we ain't ready for a black president, and that was on a Nas album, I want to say. Um, he he used that a lot for the chorus, and I remember in college listening to that, and the timing was really strong because I think President Obama was running at the time, and I think it was kind of an anthem to kind of get out the vote on that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no,
Things change.
it's pretty incredible. What I've seen in just my lifetime. I'll be 37 in a couple months. Um, so I'm actually really hopeful. What do you think? Let's go to the future. Why not? So in your 60 plus years, you've obviously
Four.
seen, yep, 64 years. You've seen some dramatic change. If you had to add another 64 years from now, where do you think we'll be? What do you think we'll be doing?
Well, when I check out in 40 years from now, that's the game plan.
Ah.
Well, um, what we're going to be is a society. We always take 2 steps back after a big set of improvements. So maybe this time we took 3 steps back, but we will improve, and it won't be long before we will stop labeling people based upon the color of the skin. You won't be
Thank
able to tell.
you.
Okay, you won't be able to tell. We will get to the point with some pain of releasing this systematic stuff that we can say is systematic racism, but it's more than that. It's really a systematic economic problem. The poor stay poor. Okay? The rich get richer, the poor. So we'll erase some of that. Okay, we still will have the super rich, still have a ways to go. But some of that stuff will get erased. We will be, maybe it's my optimistic viewpoint, we will be the United States of America. Because we're so easily traveled. We all get the same inputs from the television stations and all those type of things. We will get that. I mean, even though we have one news station says far right and another is far left, the biggest one's right in the center. And we will, I think, as a country flow there, then our problems will be with other countries more so, the countries who won't have, or that don't have countries who will want to take it from us. But we will be together more in the country, and more of the world will be united. Okay, more of the world, because it won't be very difficult at all to go to London, to Paris, those places.
Yeah, I mean, virtually we do that right now. I
Yes,
mean,
and that's a big plus of the pandemic,
that's right. That is
because
absolutely
now,
right.
geez, before you, I had no, he was in Spokane. There's a couple calls ago, talking with somebody in India.
Yep.
Young guy wants to interview me on his podcast in India. It won't be long. It won't be
Yeah.
long.
yeah, and the with language technology, translation technology, I think we're
Yes.
going to be able to talk to each other much better than we ever have before. Actually, have not one universal language, but I think technology will be so strong that it won't really matter what language you speak. I think it'll be very easy to get instant translation.
Yeah.
That's going to change
Yeah.
the game. Many
Well,
of us are going to be
it's
working from
going to change.
home. Yeah,
Absolutely. I hadn't really thought about that till you said that. That's a brilliant thought. The language we'll have that translator, the Star Wars Universal Translator, or
yeah,
the Star Trek Universal Translator there.
yeah,
No, I know sometimes when I'm speaking in a different country, my it's been translated right up on the screen.
yep.
So yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. The language barriers will fall.
Yep, and that is the predominant. I would argue that the language barriers, and perhaps to the similar extent the cultural barriers, cause the lines, the arbitrary lines, to form. Um,
Yes.
and so it goes in that order. Oh, we're different culturally, and language has a huge piece of that puzzle, and then the
Right.
lines form. And the lines are obviously completely imaginary. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. All they are completely imaginary, is what we put in our minds. The only thing we may still have a struggle with in 30, 40 years now is the religious cultural problems
Hmm.
or differences. It's not a problem, it's just the differences.
Right.
We're getting better at it here, but still, we have a problem with someone who's completely worships a different God by a different name.
Right. This has been
So
a human problem for 2,000 years, probably much longer than
5,000 years,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. So
So, okay, so
that's a great
let's
question. That deserves some more thought. That's a great question, though.
hmm,
What's it going to be like in 40, 50, 60 years?
yeah. Yeah, you strike me as a very wise person. It's fun getting deep. But I do want to have us follow this trajectory as best we can.
Sure.
So Denver, Bob, back forth. You get through that whole thing. Let's just fast forward maybe to junior high. Were you public schooled, homeschooled?
Yeah, public school. Went to public school, junior, high school, college. All everything's been public. Um, One maybe interesting story about that high school was when we started forced busing. So we were forced to go to a white school.
Oh,
Well, my parents were way ahead of that curve. They had volunteer busing, or they had a way for us to go to a white school when I was in sixth grade.
okay.
So I had to take about a 45-minute bus ride every morning to go to this
Oof.
school on the other side of town because they wanted me to have that exposure of getting out of the little black neighborhood and have that exposure going to this school to maybe learn better.
Right.
Because it's still the same thing, different districts have a different tax code, so the school gets more information, better equipment.
Of course.
So that's what they decided to do. Let's just put them over here. So
Yep.
every morning I would get up and go to school with it. Me and my sister go to school over there and come back. So
Yeah.
when we went to force busing, it was no big deal for us. Although there were some riots and upsets about it, it was no big deal for us because we had been doing it since I was in sixth grade.
It strikes me as one of the primary um, I don't want to say struggles, but perhaps obstacle for parents is the almost the need to go purchase a property or at least do your best to get into a neighborhood for the school.
Yes.
And all parents understand this. Like the home that I live in is overpriced, but it's because of the school district. If school district
Mm-hmm.
weren't an issue, there's a tons of other places I'd be totally fine living, no problem.
Right.
But it is so important to get your kids into the right school. So, do you think that your parents made the right decision by having
Oh,
you do
sure.
this 45-minute trek?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It just made everything. I never really, well, no, they also never allowed me to use my color for an excuse for anything in any
Mm,
way, shape, or form. So we could never say that at all. Only one time was that allowed, and that was when I was in high school, ready to graduate. But and I think that forces me now to kind of say, okay, it's I'm responsible for one of my lectures. I'm responsible for what happens to me,
mm,
no, but I'm responsible for how I react to it. So you can treat me with a racist tone. How am I going to react? That's what I'm responsible for. So I think that started back then. Just knowing that people are people, doesn't matter. I mean, I very seldom, I get in trouble with this with my family, but I very seldom will call somebody black or white or Asian. If you
Mm.
describe me, I said, well, someone asked me to describe you. I said, well, he's got dark hair, lighter skin than mine. If they ask, they got to ask me that. But the description, less skin, less color, more color. Who cares?
Yep, yep, yep. What degree of melatonin, right, does this
Well, isn't that
particular
what it really
individual
is?
have? Yeah.
What's your pigmentation? What is that? I mean, okay, it's darker. Who cares? So again, in 40 years, though, we're gonna be so well melted, you can't tell.
Yeah, it is how do I there's a lyric from a band of mine. Let me tell you this story real quick. So I was standing in front of Ryan Seacrest,
Hmm.
and he shook my hand, and I thought to myself, that's a lot of makeup he's wearing, TV makeup. And he's a short guy, And my friend Reed Grimm busts out of this curtain ecstatic, and
Hmm.
it turns out that he just got into the top 24 of American Idol,
Oh,
and the cameras were surrounding us, and we got to be filmed as his sort of welcome, yay, celebratory crew. Um, and he has a lyric in one of his songs from a band of his called Shoeless Revolution, um, that just for the life of me, I cannot remember the whole thing, but
hmm,
it
hmm.
ends with, I'm the one choosing how I'm going to react, um, which is exactly what you're talking about, which is, let's have a sober understanding of what we can and cannot control, and be proud of ourselves in our ability to. I'll put it to you this way. You seem like a gentleman who has a good understanding of the metaphysical, let's say. Um, it,
Yeah,
it,
absolutely.
it feels as though all of the people that have done incredible things, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, Gandhi, you can go into religious figures if you like, their difficulty level doesn't go down.
No, 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 no.
It
It sure didn't.
always goes up, and to me, it reminds me of a video game. If you beat the early levels, it doesn't get easier. The
Let
the
me quit.
designers ramp up. It
Yeah.
ramps up the difficulty level.
What a perfect analogy. That is a perfect analogy because as you get better in the video game, it goes up. It gets more difficult. As you rise in society, it gets more difficult. What a perfect analogy. That's perfect.
So, do you feel like I get the sense that you run towards the challenge? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from you. Is you don't see it as anxiety, you see it as excitement. You're
Mm,
willing and able to go and stand in front of the room to do the thing that a lot of other folks struggle to do.
I don't know if I label it that way. It's just fun. I mean,
See that you're just proving my point. You're just proving my point. You have
yeah,
such a zen take on it.
yeah, I get. I mean, yeah, you're making me think about that. And I got to be honest. A couple shows I listened to, you said got to get him on my. I got to get to him. I mean, but because you have that same understanding of the metaphysics, you have the same understanding of the universal pulls and laws and restrictions just from the things you talk about. So, and I think you might agree. This is fun. I think.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun. It is also 10:57.
Oh,
Um,
time
Time
flies.
flies when you're having fun. That's right. So we got to about junior high, as far as I'm concerned. So we'd love to have you back, obviously, to keep the word going. Shout out to Caroline in chat. Zen is the perfect word. I'm curious about Glenn's mindfulness techniques. So you've got about 3 minutes, Glenn, to answer Caroline's question about mindfulness, and also to pitch and just be selfish. Be a selfish capitalist. Let us know. Let us know
Well,
about the money. Yeah.
we'll do it backwards. I'm leader. I teach leadership skills. So I always say you got to have true self-assessment of where you are. So just go to leadershiptest.online and take that leadership test there. Leadershiptest.online. Mindfulness for me begins in the morning When you win the morning, you're going to win the day. I don't believe in a huge, complex morning routine. All I'm going to do is meditate for 20 minutes, do yoga for 20 minutes, and then plan my day for 20 minutes. I find when I do that, I'm better able to be mindful of each task that I have to do. I don't check email throughout the course of the day because I'm more mindful of what I'm writing. So just being mindful of the moment. Okay. I really do focus on breathing sometimes. Whenever there's something stresses me out, I'm going to breathe. And that helps me draw me back into mindfulness. So that's how I do it. I've heard other people listen to music, do different things. But I just think that if you breathe, you can draw yourself back in if you focus on that breathing. But it's just one task at a day, at a time. That's my short answer there.
No, I love that. So I often feel like people don't breathe. Like they think one deep breath is enough. No, it's not.
No.
I mean, multiple deep
just pull it in.
breaths.
And pull it in, and I try to pull it in from the earth and from the sky. Just let it come in both directions.
Yep.
Just pull it in, let it sit there, then just let it.
Yep. If you look at, you can learn a lot from swimmers. You could call it hyperventilating. Before they get in the water, they take long, deep, 15, 20, 25, oxygenating the blood. The whole body fills with chi if you're into, kung fu, and boom, and away you go. I've never held my breath as long as I did during a Wim Hof breathing exercise because I didn't understand breathing. I missed it. It took me 36 years to understand that multiple deep breaths oxygenate the blood, not just that's what I used to think it was. You fill your air with lungs. This was the idea, but no, the blood holds the oxygen.
Yeah, exactly. And that just probably out of our 3 minutes, but just to emphasize this a little bit, I struggled in July with 2 blood clots in my lungs. And realizing that when that was preventing me from oxygenating my blood, no matter how deep of a breath I took, but then I realized when the oxygen, I was getting supplemental oxygen, I got off of that really fast because I was able to bring that all into my body and let it oxygenate my blood for me. It's so important to breathe and deep breathing and pull it all the way in and back out. So all the way in and all the way out. I mean, that was the first time I've been ill. No, just last July. No, I don't even really get the common cold because I think you breathe. I think if you have a focused mind, you breathe, and that keeps you healthier.
Yeah, I love it. It's to me it's lung yoga, right? You're stretching the lungs. It's like any other organ. It needs, you find the maximum, the minimum. You play in that space. But you got to have a lot of time for it. You got to invest in yourself. So, Glenn. I always do it out of respect.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just respect. It's not a formal thing. It's a respect thing. But the incredible Glenn Daniels on the show today. Very exciting stuff. I had an absolute blast. We will love to have him back on the show. So I think we're good there. Glenn, I'll give you a final word.
Okay. No, I don't have a final word.
That's probably the most zen thing you could possibly do. And it's silence, friends. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for swinging on by Marketing as a Foreign Language. We really appreciate it. My selfish capitalist moment is if you know anyone who's looking for a website, SEO, internet marketing, social media, Google ads, Google My Business, LinkedIn ads, all of that stuff. We would love to help. I have the absolute best team on the planet in the history of teams on the planet. So proud of them. Incredible stuff. Couldn't be more happy with our guest today, Glenn Daniels. And we will see him on the show for next time. Thank you very much to everyone in chat for asking questions and engaging. We appreciate it. If you're listening to us after the fact on iTunes or Spotify, we appreciate you too. Don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help with the algorithm, comment, etc. So thank you very much to everyone listening, and special shout out to Mr. Daniels.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.